used to be, there was no such thing as a sport tourer. It's kind of a silly concept, if you think about it. Take the biggest, slowest, worst handling sort of bike and combine it with the smallest, fastest, best handling. It's like crossing an F-18 with a Goodyear blimp, and nobody will be happy. Of course, you're reading this on the internet, where nobody is happy anyway. Give us power, handling, reliability, locking luggage, and price it like it's on the McDonald's value menu. Give us all the pluses and none of the minuses. Oh, and can you make it in the USA? 'Cause Murica? Company founder, Lee Khan, writing his creation. You gotta admit, it's got balls, he yelled at me when we pulled up to a stop sign. Yes it does, Lee. Yes it does. Company founder, Lee Khan, writing his creation. You gotta admit, it's got balls, he yelled at me when we pulled up to a stop sign. Yes it does, Lee. Yes it does. Schizophrenic product requests like this must drive planners and engineers insane, especially when you have to balance so many conflicting demands. Make it happen. All it takes is a huge corporation and hundreds and millions of R&D dollars, after all, and then the resulting machine gets faulted for lack of character. Yeah, the Concur 14 is affordable, fast, good handling and reliable, say the guys with checkbooks out, ready to buy, but so is the FJR1300 and the ST1300 and the K1600 GT. I think I better go think it over and talk to the wife. Please excuse me, says the exasperated OEM, while I insert the pointy end of this J.D. Powers award all the way into my eye. Thank God, then, for the hopeful naivete of youth. One day, back in 2008, a pair of enthusiasts, an engineer named Brian Case and a business guy named Lee Khan, decided they would build a kick-ass, all-American sport tourer that would be irresistible to self-proclaimed sport touring customers. You can read the whole motus story elsewhere on MO. After all, we've been covering it from the very start, but here's the executive summary. The mstr's engine gets a big bump in power, which makes the valve covers glow cherry red even when the bike is stopped. The mstr's engine gets a big bump in power, which makes the valve covers glow cherry red even when the bike is stopped. The motor is, architecturally speaking, half a small block V8, shrunk down to 1,650 cubic centimeters. It was developed by Case and, race engine specialist, Pratt & Miller, and is impressive. Hydraulic lifters, no valve adjustments required, and pushrods are a nod to tradition, but it's an aluminum block. Engine weight is a claimed 150 pounds without the 75-pound 6-speed gearbox, and sports closed-loop EFI, and an 11.5:1 compression ratio. The basic MST makes a claimed 165 horsepower and 123 lb-ft of torque at the crank. The MSTR, with sporty red valve covers, makes 180 HP and 126 lb-ft. The motor goes into a chromoly tube steel space frame, also developed by Case and Pratt & Miller, and fabricated in Alabama, with matching swing arm. It puts 58 inches between the wheels, and the Öhlins fork is set for 26 degrees of rake and 4.25 inches of trail. The linkage-equipped rear suspender is by Progressive, and it's fully adjustable, of course. Wheels are forged aluminum from Italian company Ounce, and brakes are by Braking and Brembo. The MSTR gets an Öhlins TTX36 shock, Brembo M4 monoblock calipers, and carbon fiber bodywork. The rest of the bike is pretty simple. There's some simple looking, but expensive, made in South Africa fiberglass, bodywork, a minimal tail, and grab handles that double as mounts for included give locking hard cases. The seat is by Sargent's, and a choice of either a low or high seat are available at no extra cost to the buyer, and the adjustable windscreen is also available in multiple widths and heights. A small but data-packed TFT display delivers the 411. It all weighs in at a claimed 585 pounds with bags and a full 5.5-gallon fuel tank. Expect to see more than 200 miles of range. Yum, yum. BST carbon fiber wheels, M4 Brembo mono blocks, Öhlins NIX30 fork, that stuff retails for over $6,000. And that's just the front. Yum, yum. BST carbon fiber wheels, M4 Brembo mono blocks, Öhlins NIX30 fork, that stuff retails for over $6,000. And that's just the front. I have been reading about this bike since 2010 or so I was eager to ride it. After a 2-minute tech brief, I climbed aboard the mstr. Lee also assured he had the low seats on both bikes, which is 32 inches, the high seat is 33.5, though it's very narrow at the front, making it possible to get both feet flat on the ground despite my 30-inch inseam. The bike is bulky at a standstill and heavy at low speeds, reminding me of a big standard like Kawi's Z1000. Steering lock was limited as well, but then I remembered I was on a 180 HP sport tourer and realized it was much easier to handle than it should be. Riding up into the Altamont Pass for photos took us onto a bumpy, twisty road, and the motus handled it well. The Öhlins rear was stiff, but I probably could have tuned the harshness out if I had time. The steering felt heavy at first, but after a few miles it felt manageable, and never hard to turn. Feet up U-turns between photo passes were easy, especially considering this genre. The bike's longitudinal crank rocks the bike a little. The transmission's perpendicular countershaft partly mitigates that effect, but it also keeps the center of gravity very low, tricking the rider into thinking the bike is much lighter. I would not guess this bike is almost 600 pounds. Riding it on slow and medium speed roads is reminiscent of something like a cross between a supermoto and an 80s UJM, if you can dig it. Handling is light and unintimidating for a bike with this kind of heft and power. Handling is light and unintimidating for a bike with this kind of heft and power. High-speed handling is even better. The motus feels stable, but the steering is easier as the speeds increase. You can opt for either handlebar when you buy a motus, but I preferred the Hellebar's built multi-adjustable bar. It puts you in a bolt upright position that provides good leverage, and you can tune it perfectly for your reach and preferred riding position. The low bar on the mstr felt like it would be better for shorter, more spirited rides or track days. The brakes, tires and suspension all work well.